Hiya, I wanted to put up a video about bullying as I find this subject quite close to my heart, and there's been a lot of things recently on Twitter about it, and there's quite a few people that I follow on Twitter who are quite passionate about the subject and are quite keen on helping other people with it. So I thought maybe it'd be a really good idea for me to put my experience of bullying up. Having spent most of my secondary school teenage years being a victim of bullying, you know, it seems really silly now actually, because I'm now nearly 30 years old, and when I look back at it, there's probably a lot of ways that I could have handled it very differently. And also a lot of things that I could have said and a reaction to some of the things that were said to me. I was quite lucky in one respect that the only bullying I ever had when I was in secondary school was verbal. I never was bullied physically, so thank goodness, you know, I always was very safe, but still verbal bullying in the classroom, in the playground, you know, even when I'm walking on the street on a weekend or something from fellow students and I might see them around, even to the point of just silly taunts and things, you know, when there's strangers driving past you in a van and they'll shout out stupid things. But so yeah, I was bullied purely because I'm ginger. No other reason other than the fact that I had ginger hair, and that was always a really good subject or topic to pick on. So I've been called all sorts of things you can think of. You know, the one that I always used to get called was ginger minge, or ginger this, or ginger that, you know, ginger ninja, a lot of stupid stuff, you know. And when I think back, like I said, it seems really pathetic and really childish, but at the time it really affected me on a real emotional level. You know, I used to come home from school, I used to cry a lot of the time, I used to bunk off of lessons. I became quite, you know, kind of keeping myself to myself, and I ended up sort of spending most of my time in the library, not really associating with many people. My best friend at the time, a girl called Laura Pierce actually, who I haven't seen for many years, she even used to bully me because she would kind of join the group of taunters and she kind of laughed and joked along with it. And you kind of, when you're at the point where even your best friend is kind of turning against you and they're enjoying the limelight and the jokes on you, it's really not a nice feeling. So I do completely sympathise with people who are being bullied today. All I would say to you is that, you know, as you get older, you do realise that the people who are actually verbally and, you know, mentally or whatever, or even physically picking on you and using you as you know, the subject of their channel, like they're channeling basically all of their negative insecurities and feelings on somebody else, whether they pick out your hair colour, whether they pick out your physical appearance, whether you're different from somebody else, or you know, you stand out from the crowd. You know, people will find things to pick on because they have insecurities and issues of their own, and that's just their way of dealing with it. To kind of, I mean, for a perfect example actually is my best friend Laura. She was quite a big girl, you know. She I would never say fat because that's not nice, but I would just say she was a big girl. She, you know, and she knew that if she wasn't being, you know, joining in with the bulliers, that's actually she would be the one who would end up being taunted herself. Even a guy, he was actually ginger and he would be picking on me, and there was even a point where I turned around and say, how the hell can you pick on me, you're ginger as well? But it was actually his way of dealing with his own insecurities and deflecting bullies away from him. So I will say that every single person that I can think of anyway, who used to bully me are in not fantastic positions now. A lot of them have children, a lot of them are single, a lot of them don't have good jobs. I would say that karma gets all of them. I, on the other hand, have a great job, I have a great flat, I'm in a really good position. So you do find that a lot of bullies actually turn around in later life and say, oh my God, you know, what happened to her? She now is like such and such, or, you know. There was one guy who actually came to me when I was at university, and I was working in Harvester part-time actually, and he basically said, oh my God, you know, it's so good to see you. And he said, I'm so sorry that I bullied you at school. I was an idiot then, and I've grown up a lot now. So just saying that most of the time bullies do get their comeuppance, and they do realise in the later years that they were just massive idiots for treating you the way that they were treating you. I know that you know, does it make it any easier having to deal with it? No. I mean, I just kind of got on with it and carried on, and unfortunately, yeah, let it affect my work, let it affect things. I didn't go to certain classes, I'd avoid classes because I knew bullies would be in it. And I became kind of a little virtual recluse on my own in the library most of my lunchtimes and breaks to avoid them at all costs. Don't let bullies get you down, you know. The more you ignore it and laugh at it and kind of accept it, that's their problem and not yours. That's the only kind of way that you can deal with it. Find good friends. Make sure you've always got a really good friend that you can rely on and talk to. Talk to teachers. Teachers are brilliant. Teachers will always try and keep people separate, and when they know that someone is being victimised in the classroom, they will always try and you know, make the situation as easygoing as possible. Talk to your parents if you can. I was never really able to talk to my parents about the situation. They weren't very attentive in that respect. But certainly speak to teachers and make sure you have good friends, not just to back you up, but also to talk to if you need somebody to talk to. And they do help the pressure a little bit, you know. Thankfully, I mean, in some way, I mean, I'm not bullied anymore. I do sometimes occasionally get the funny talk, but I laugh it off these days. Thankfully, being ginger now is very, very popular. And whereas when I was a teenager, the only people that ever complimented or appreciated the colour of my hair were old people, OAPs, who always just say to me, oh, your hair is beautiful, it's lovely. Whereas, yeah, now there's a lot of people who say, oh, I love the colour of your hair, and they're actually the same age as me, or sometimes even younger. Even ginger boys now are considered to be sexy and attractive, whereas before no one would even look at a ginger boy. So society has become certainly more accepting of redheads and everything else, but also I believe society is becoming more accepting of people who have mental problems, people who are physically different in some way, shape or form. They stand out from the crowd. A really good example of that was the Undateables, and I really enjoyed that, where people were very different and may not necessarily be looked at twice, but at the same time they were lovable, and people really took a shine to these contestants and these people on Undateables, and you know, on Twitter their pages are buzzing, and now all of a sudden they're getting dated left, right and centre. I think it's just an understanding of character and understanding that, you know, words really do hurt people. They say sticks and stones, but actually no, words do, and names and taunts really do hurt people. They certainly hurt me in the past. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of all I want to say. Please don't let it try and affect your work. You know, school, if you're at school, college, university, don't let their bullies get you down, because they are not worth it, and they will get their comeuppance in the future. I will say that some people don't grow up, and even at the age of nearly 30, I will walk down the street and someone will shout out ginger out of the car. It's just one of those things, you know, people are quite pathetic, and some don't grow up. And, you know, bullying can happen in all walks of life, all ages. It doesn't just happen at school. At that point, if people are grouping off and people are finding their identity, and that's probably the reason why it's so common in school. But certainly, OAPs get bullied by teenagers, shouting, victimising, swearing, calling names, taunts. You'll even get people bullying other members, other colleagues in the workplace. I sometimes get the occasional ginger taunt, which is pretty, in a sort of heartfelt way. It's not meant to be nasty in any way, but still it does touch a nerve in me occasionally, and so I do understand it's not fun. But just want to say to people out there, try and be strong, try and be as positive as you can, and believe that things will get better, and that you are actually ultimately a better, more interesting, attractive person than the bully themselves, because you're the one who's completely accepting of who you are, and you're going to be successful ultimately. And don't let other people bring you down. Just don't, and that's kind of all I wanted to say really on the subject of bullying. So yeah, peace out to all of you guys, and especially to all of the redheads out there. Bye.